Now, you do support this new contract that came out, correct?
I do.
Do you think the aldermen are in favor of it since you recommended that they approve it?
Well, if only it was that easy. No, you know, I have been speaking to aldermen, trying to get their support along with mine to get the 10 votes because I think it's the right thing to do. And it really goes back to the message I said a little earlier. Is this a contract that the city can afford, understanding that the school board is willing to have their budget come in under the spending cap? And if it is, I think I'm obligated to try to support it. That doesn't eliminate my ability to talk to the school board about the things that have concerned me.
So what do you think will happen? What's the next step if by chance the contract does get rejected?
Well, if the contract does get rejected, it goes back to the Board of Education again for them to try to renegotiate.
Who do you believe is most affected by these everlasting negotiations?
Well, I think first the students. I think then the parents, then the teachers, but the community at large, because they're watching it. And I don't think they necessarily understand, again, like I said, 15 contracts. How does that play out with other contracts? You know, what are the things that the alderman and the mayor look to in contracts as far as the cost items? And how can we change the discussion? You know, I took a lot of heat about, well, even the mayor said we could pay for it. And I tried to explain to people, you know, that was one of those things taken out of context. If you watch the chamber breakfast where I presented the facts, is it true that the city had some funds available? It is true. But it's no different than your parents having a savings account available or a college fund. Because you have the money there, it may not be designated for something else. If you said to your parents, I know you have a college fund and I need a new car, you think they'd go into the college fund and give you the money for the car?
Probably not.
Exactly. The city, for financial stability, especially in the times that we're facing right now, has to keep a certain amount of funding available for things that could happen, changes in healthcare, changes in our revenue that comes in, a decrease in property tax income, all kinds of different things. You can't just, we're not equipped to take that money and put it on, let's just settle the contract. Plus it sets a bad precedent for all the other contracts. So it really wasn't just about, is there money available to settle this particular contract? It was, is this an affordable, fair contract going forward? The other example that I use for people is, if you have a savings account and your transmission falls out of your car, and you go into the savings account and you pay for that transmission, that's probably fine. It's a one-time expense that you can incur.
Do you think the school, going back to school, do you think the school year has actually been negatively affected students in the district?
Well, I think it depends on some of the teachers involved. You know, I watched some of your shows that you had where you were interviewing students, and some of them that clearly felt that their teachers had stopped teaching.
And like you said, the fifth grader who wanted to go on a field trip but couldn't. Couldn't,
you know, so I think that those, and I don't think kids on that level should even have any indication that there's anything amiss. They should not be worrying about whether they have a field trip or they don't have a field trip. So yeah, I think things were negatively impacted.
Now, do you think the students in the city have a right to know what's going on? I mean, lately haven't been hearing much until probably last week or the week before about what's going on. I mean, it's been pretty shut up and quiet.
I think a lot of it has tended to be more one-sided because you're a captive audience here in a school building, and so you hear from your teachers or you ask your teachers. I know that some of the students were talking about striking. I know that people were wearing different shirts. I had a couple of students out in front of City Hall, you know, that got dismissed from school to be out there trying to show support for their teachers. But I think the students should know about it, but I think in order to know about it, you can't just know a single side of it.
And I know the weeks before the information started being more publicly known, there were so many rumors about teachers are going to strike this date or they're going to perform this type of action. And I mean, nobody really knew what was going on. Do you think it was better to have known or to kept quiet up until that point?
You know, I think that setting a strike date, I know that some people feel like, well, because we set a strike date, that's why things were resolved. I don't agree. I think that the people that were at the table right now were highly motivated to get something resolved and had been coming to the table long before a strike date was set. And I think that I think that still could have happened. The people leading those discussions still could have brought people in and said, we need to get this resolved.
Now, going to tomorrow, what do you think is going to happen at the meeting? What's your hopes?
Well, I'm hopeful that we have the 10 votes to get it done. And I'm hopeful that we don't let that be the end of it. I'm hopeful that we go forward and we talk about the agreement and we talk about healing the community. I mean, one of the biggest problems in the community, I mean, we've talked about the school community, students, parents, teachers, but the community at large. This kind of thing really pits one group against another. Makes the elderly angry that they're spending more for schools and they feel like they've already educated their kids and their grandchildren, and can't they be done now, which is a problem. You know, it pits police, fire against teachers. I mean, you heard teachers talking about, well, you know, they should be, you know, the same as police, and I don't think that's necessarily the case. And young families that think, I can't afford what's going on. I mean, on my desk I have a letter from, you know, HP. They laid off 407 people. Last Saturday I participated in a foreclosure workshop for people losing their homes for 4 hours. There are real things going on in this community, and if we allow something like this, with this discussion to take place at the level we did, we're just going to set those groups up against each other, and we can't do that. We really have to be a single community valuing education and the other groups in our community.
So would you say the teachers union is to blame for this?
No, you know, I don't think I'd want to place blame anywhere. I mean, really, that's not productive. Sort of like taking office, I don't look back on what I think was wrong. I mean, I've been here 92 days, and I think that everybody had a piece in it. I think to some degree, one group was waiting for the new elections thinking, oh, we're going to get people that are more sympathetic to our cause. And another group was thinking, oh no, we're going to get the group more sympathetic to our cause. And really what needed to happen is people needed to sit down and understand what was at stake here. And I don't think everybody did. I mean, even when you talked about teachers saying, well, we were willing to go with 0% in the first year, or the mayor's veto made us go 18 months. Well, on a calendar year, it was true that they went 18 months. But on a fiscal note, getting the double steps, it was really still a year, just like everybody else. But those are things that kind of get lost in the shuffle of debate.
Now, if by chance tomorrow the contract does not get passed and the teachers decide to strike, what will happen in the city?
I think teachers will be faced with losing their jobs. And I think the city will become a place where there are different camps that are going to take positions that could be very detrimental. I talked to some of the school board members from 1970 when the last teacher strike actually took place.
It took 18 days to resolve.
And some of them said to me, to this day, 30 years later, more than 30 years later, they still have family members that don't talk to them. There's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with that.
So to end today, what is your educational vision for the children of Nashua in the schools?
To be all that they can be, to have the resources available to them. I mean, you know, this is a community, I mean, you can look at the teachers' contract discussion and argue whether we value education or not, but you can turn around and look at the 2 new high schools in this community and see that clearly Nashua believes in education and supports it completely.
All right, well, I'd like to thank you for coming in today, and
You're
that's all the
welcome.
time we have. And you can check out our other clips on this website at www.we-the-students.org. Bye.